Influencing popular culture, politics, and everything in between. The local station takes you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside with the local station.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I am Scott Johnson. Welcome to another episode of Going Ringside. Before we go forward with a spooky guy right there, Boogeyman is here today. I want to talk about last week's episode. Sergeant Slaughter was here. One of my favorite interviews we ever did, because Sarge talked about the decision to go to G.I. Joe, the controversial Iraqi sympathizer storyline. Really interesting, good stuff. Go check it out right now in the archives. But this week, getting a little spooky. The Boogeyman is here. I've been waiting on a while to bring in Boogeyman on the show because he is one of those guys who lives the gimmick in every respect. That getup, that takes a lot of work, and very seldom do you see gimmick wrestlers who put a lot of effort into the gimmick years and years and years later. Boogeyman does. Still in great shape, still scary, still gyrating, like always. Boogeyman, and I want to give you an analogy. Another great character, maybe the greatest character wrestler of all time, is Undertaker. But Undertaker, over the years, you kind of see it change up. He's dead man, he's American badass, he's dressed in street clothes. That's not the case with Boogeyman. Always in gimmick, always in character, always scary. Boogeyman's one of the guys who actually was on one of our first live shows we ever did. I'll bring that to you a little later on. But I wanted to get to him a little later on in the show. Our friend of the show, Desiree Josen, with the Chutes and Ladders podcast, will be back with us to talk about Boogeyman's career. And after that, we're going to be joined by an up-and-coming wrestler from our friends down at Hatchet Pro Wrestling in St. Augustine, which is run by Dexter Loomis, or Sam Shaw, you know, from WWE. Well, this guy is one of the stars with American Ninja Warrior. He's taking his ninja warriorness and bringing it into the world of pro wrestling. You'll want to see this interview in just a little bit. And then the end of the show, if you're in our area in Jacksonville or Northeast Florida, we got some information on an indie wrestling show happening in our area if you want to go see it live. So we'll have that later on the show. But let's get to it right now. Boogeyman is here. Here is maybe the scariest character of all time. In fact, I had a producer when I told him we're having the Boogeyman, and he was a kid during Boogeyman's heyday, big wrestling fan. He said, I would never turn off wrestling in the house except when he came on TV. He was terrified. A lot of kids probably felt that way. So let's get to it. Here is the Boogeyman. Apparently got a scary assignment today. The Boogeyman is here. Not exact. I've been avoiding this interview all day.
Scott, you're hot. Hot Scott.
Hot Scott.
That's right.
Oh, God.
Yes.
How are you doing, sir? What's going on?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm feeling the boogie.
Oh, God. I'm not ready for that. How did all of this start?
As far as the Boogeyman started?
The
Boogeyman started in a very, very dark and lonely and cold room. Actually, it wasn't so cold. They call it the bottomless pit.
And then eventually WWE called you.
Yes, WWE.
And you went in and you terrified people like nothing has ever happened in WWE.
But you know what, Scott? I only look for the bad people. Are you a good kid or a bad kid?
What am I doing here? Oh, my God.
Yes. Crystal ball.
How did the worms start?
How did the worms start? You know, actually, I'm going to get a little bit out of character right now, but the worms started actually, when I first created this character, in my burlap bag, I would have an edible insect for each one of my opponents, for every different opponent. But if we walked into an arena such as this, I had maggots, roaches, crickets, and other like spiders that you could possibly eat, and worms. And unfortunately, we couldn't go into the arena with those type of critters because they can crawl away and infest the arena. So we had to either pay an $80,000 infestation clause. So the only thing we could control was the worms. And I must say they're quite delicious.
They're quite delicious. So it seemed like no one wanted to wrestle you for years. Everyone was just terrified of you.
Well, you know, and thanks to everyone that I work with, each and every person that I work with, from Booker T, JBL, to Mark Henry, you know, it was guys like that that helped guided me in this whole business, which is that we tell stories. And I like to tell great stories, so I'm a storyteller, basically. But I like to put a twist on the Boogeyman, so I don't just chase anyone. I only chase the bad. The bad. You know, not the good, just the bad. Are you bad, Scott?
I'm trying not to be at this very moment. I'm also trying not to wet myself at this very moment. So,
yes, sir.
Godfather.
Godfather.
Oh, we saw that. Godfather gave me a check right there.
It's quite a few stars here. I love River City. I love coming down here each time, having a chance to chat with you. And I thank you so much for including me on this beautiful occasion that families can come out and enjoy and see some of their stars.
Real quickly, how long does this all take?
Well, it takes me approximately 3 hours. 3 hours, and I do it myself. Everything from toe to head is of something I've created. So, but I can tell you real quick, you see the yellow?
Yeah.
That's the tree of life.
Okay.
The black around my eyes is the black owl that sits in the tree.
I'm looking at your eyes right now. They're scary.
Yes, but I mean, there's a storyline. The dots that are scattered amongst my head is the forbidden fruit that are falling off the tree. And the worms that I eat are from the ground up, eating the fruit that are falling off the tree. So there's a story.
How do kids respond when they see you at these?
You know, I mean, ironically, so they, Mr. Boogeyman, it's like, you know, me being able to have this stage and put a twist on it and to leave the kid in a positive frame of mind. Of course, I don't, you know, it's all for the kids. But to try to teach them to face their fear, always be obedient, do their homework, keep their room clean, eat all their spinach, say their prayers and do their push-ups, and you'll be fine. As long as, you know, treat everybody nice, then you won't have to worry about the Boogeyman. But if you're bad...
yeah, don't be bad. Boogeyman, thank you for joining us.
Scott, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you, brother. You're awesome. But you know what, Scott? I got to leave you with one thing.
Oh, no.
You know what?
Oh, no. I don't know that I want to be here.
The worms, Scott.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh. They were candy worms, thankfully, not the real ones that he eats. He felt bad a little afterwards and said, I hope that's okay. I'm like, you did it on camera. It's always okay if it's on camera. But I wanted to bring back a little bonus thing with the Boogeyman because this is not the first time we've seen him here on Going Ringside. So I wanted to throw back to about a year and a half ago. We were doing our first live show at River City, at a different River City Wrestling Con. And we're live on television, and Boogeyman wanders into the shot. So I wanted to bring this back because it's one of those ones that was my favorite segments because we're just live and the Boogeyman wanders in and takes over the show. So before we move forward, I want to bring back our original time we saw the Boogeyman here on Going Ringside. Tomorrow it'll be just as packed. Hey, there's the Boogeyman right there, right in front of us. Mark, can you pan the camera to the left? You don't see that walking through every day. So the Boogeyman is here live in front of us. That is the guy who eats worms, if you remember. We'll try and catch up with him a little later, but very exciting. We're live if he'd want to come on. Sir, how are you? We're live on television. Can we talk to you right now? Let's do this. Boogeyman, how you been?
Fantastic. How have you been? And who, may I ask, are you?
I'm Scott Johnson of Channel 4.
Scott Johnson.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Thank you, so kind to meet you as well. Thank you for coming out for this lovely occasion here in River City.
You are living the gimmick. Should I say you were as intimidating as it gets?
Gimmick? What gimmick?
I'm saying, you're right. There is no gimmick.
It's a real pleasure to be out here. Great for family, friends and family, man. It's a beautiful time to come out and meet the band and meet people such as yourself, man. Jacksonville, Florida is a great place. I'm actually living in Denver. I flew down from Denver to be a part of this.
So, how did you learn to eat worms?
Well, ironically, I must say, worms are actually 82% protein. Not the ideal food that I would recommend to eat, but they're actually nutritious. They're nutritional, yes.
How much goes into this each day?
Well, it takes me approximately 3 hours to get myself metamorphosized into this entity.
It is an entity.
That it is.
So when they found out you could eat worms, was that an immediate seller to WWE?
Well, the thing about the worms, the thing about my pouch, my bag, the idea was to have an edible insect for each opponent. So the only thing that we can control would be the worms. If we walk into an arena such as this with maggots, roaches, or, Madagascar roaches, the spiders and so forth, we'd have to pay an infestation clause. So the only thing that we can control was the worms. Nothing would crawl away and infest the area. So the worms stuck with me because we can control it.
So how did this all even start? Did you just think of this one day, or?
I was in a very, very dark place.
You were in a dark place?
Yes, I was. I like you guys.
I appreciate it.
I really do, man. How long have you been an interview coach working with Channel 4?
I've been at Channel 4 for more than 20 years, but I've been a news anchor for 25 years. They say, how about you start doing wrestling stuff?
Have you ever had a guest as wild and crazy as me?
I've had tons, but no one like you. No one anywhere close to you.
No, I take that as a compliment, so to speak, but I thank you so much for allowing me to be in the room.
Thank you, Boogeyman, and it's been really nice to meet you. Thank you. Have you scared any children today?
Yes, I want to scare all the kids into doing the right thing. Keep your room clean, honor your mother and father, do your homework, eat your spinach, and do your push-ups and say your prayers. Yeah.
I think they will listen to that and probably have a few nightmares. Thanks again, Boogeyman. It has been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So I just love that he wandered into the shot and took over the show, which was absolutely amazing and tremendous. So I appreciate the Boogeyman, and I wanted to bring in friend of the show, Desiree Josen, with the Chutes and Ladders podcast to kind of break down Boogeyman's career, because it's really like no other. He has just accomplished so much in so many years. He remains a guy that WWE still brings in, still out on the convention circuit, still scaring the children. So let's get to it. Here's Desiree Josen from the Chutes and Ladders podcast. Well, we are joined by friend of the show again, Desiree Josen, becoming a regular with us. Desiree, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
From the Chutes and Ladders podcast, where people find you at?
You can find us on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook.
So, Boogeyman, just his appearance. Yeah. I don't know that anyone's had such a good appearance as Boogeyman did.
No. He really caused a lot of nightmares, scared a lot of kids. He did his job.
Yeah, so I was just talking backstage to one of our producers here, and he said he was the one wrestler I would turn off the TV, because he was a kid at the time, and he would be terrified when the Boogeyman came on.
Yeah, no, and when you see him in person, he is in character, and he looks just like that. He's terrifying.
Now, if I remember right, he was one of those ones that kind of became a little indestructible. Mm-hmm. Like, he would go and just beat up anyone. Like, yeah. He kind of had... Taker had that gimmick early on. Yeah. And I think Great Khali kind of had that. Mm-hmm. But he was a good performer. Yeah. That, no one wanted to mess with.
No, and that's the thing, is he had a scary gimmick, so physically you didn't want to approach him, but he was also very massive. He was like the body type of like Bobby Lashley. He's huge.
Yeah, so originally he came... our first live show, this was a year and a half ago, he wandered into our shot and just got involved, which was absolutely amazing for us. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why he's so scary, he's like got that jerkiness. And you're like, is he gonna lunge at me? Is he gonna bite me? And the movements and the jerkiness, it's not just the face paint. It's not just the voice. He has that weird kind of walk.
It's very calculated, and you just don't know what he's going to do. And then he's got the worms and the clock.
Okay, let's talk about it. So he told me a little of the backstory in one of our old shows, which I think we'll run on this episode. It's just gross. And the fact that he would do it on camera, didn't seem to mind, like he enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, he played into it. I don't know if they were real or not.
Now, when you go to conventions, most people, they'll wear a shirt with their old gimmick. Lawler wears his crown.
Yeah.
But he's the one guy who comes, he is full Boogeyman all the time.
Absolutely. I've seen him twice, 2 years in a row, and he is in full makeup, in full character, being creepy as ever.
Do you think, and did I see him on WWE recently? I want to say I saw him on some segment recently.
They used him to scare a couple of people during Halloween.
Do you think WWE knows they just kind of keep him on retainer if they ever need to bring him in?
If they were smart, yes, just because he's unforgettable.
Yeah, I mean, you immediately know who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to explain to the audience.
No, we know who he is.
Yeah. Well, Desiree, thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more time on where they find Chutes and Ladders.
YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at The Chutes and Ladders.
Desiree Joseph, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
So I appreciate Desiree sitting down. And I want to point something in our first interview that you saw at the beginning there with Boogeyman. Notice the Godfather walk in the background? Well, look for the Godfather in coming weeks here on Going Ringside. A little bit of tease, so keep an eye out for when the Godfather joins us here on the show. But I want to change subjects now and appreciate Boogeyman joining us. It was a fun interview. I was glad to have him on the show. And I want to talk about an up-and-coming wrestler who's training now at our friends Hatchet Pro Wrestling down in St. Augustine. His name is R.J. Roman. He's originally from our area here in Jacksonville, and he's had massive success, but not in wrestling yet, with the show American Ninja Warrior. And he's going to describe it one of the best they've ever had. And now he's transitioning into the world of pro wrestling. So here is the student and likely soon-to-be star down at Hatchet Pro Wrestling. Here is R.J. Roman from American Ninja Warrior. Well, we're joined now by R.J. Roman, who is currently at Hatchet Pro Wrestling, friend of the show, down in St. Augustine. You might know him also from, what's that show again?
I've been on the last 7 seasons of American Ninja Warrior. I've been in the national finals every time. I have a tie for the record of the most appearances in the final stage. And I've also competed in Japan and Germany, so all over the world.
Where are you from? Are you from this area?
I'm originally from Jacksonville.
You are?
Yeah, and then, so I recently moved back just last year, and where I moved was probably not even 20 minutes from Hatchet. And so when I heard that there was a school that close to me, I just had to sign up.
So you started wrestling after you did American Ninja?
Yes, sir. I'm 6 weeks into my first beginner course right now.
Describe American Ninja Warrior versus training to be a pro wrestler. Is it?
Yeah, they're definitely a lot different. Both, you're using your body, right? So it's not like going into the weightlifting gym and, lifting weights. Of course, with wrestling, you're lifting other people. That's a huge difference. With Ninja, I'm always lifting my own body, throwing my own body.
Yeah.
And I think that did help and translate over. The cardio, I think, from Ninja has helped with wrestling.
How did you decide to do American Ninja Warrior?
So I decided to do American Ninja Warrior because someone actually rented out one of the trampoline parks in Jacksonville to host a ninja competition. And I was working at that trampoline park at the time, so I was practicing on that course. I didn't even want to be a ninja at first, but I ended up doing well because I was practicing on the course. And then that qualified me for another one, and then I kind of got plugged into the community that way. One thing led to another, and I ended up on the TV show.
What's the goal for you with wrestling?
Yeah, so I'm always trying, with Ninja Warrior, but I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I've always been trying to push myself further and further and further. So now, kind of switching gears from Ninja Warrior, which is an entertainment show, I'm trying to push to the next level, and wrestling kind of fits in that category. I love performing, and I just want to keep performing in front of more and more people and achieve more and more things.
Well, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
So I appreciate RJ talking to us. Look for him. He's at Hatchet now. Hard to say where he'll end up, but he's got a great pedigree with a Ninja Warrior background. So I want to switch gears and talk about something. If you're in our area, if you're in Northeast Florida, Southeast Georgia, put it on the screen. We have an independent wrestling show coming to our area on March 22nd. Want to tell you all about it. CCW, they are a locally based indie wrestling organization. They have their Stampede 34, March 22nd. Doors open around 6:30. I think after 7 is when the actual matches start. Potter's House Gym. That is at 1150 Lane Avenue in Jacksonville. If you want more information, their website is ccwrestling.biz. That's ccwrestling.biz. You can get all the details, but they have that big show coming March 22nd. If you like indie shows, which I like because they're so much more personal, so much more fun, check out their big show coming March 22nd. So thank you for joining us. So excited to have Boogeyman with us. We got a lot of big stars coming up in coming weeks. One hint, you saw one today. Godfather will be here soon. Thanks again to Boogeyman for joining us, and thanks to Desiree Joseph with the Chutes and Ladders podcast. And of course, RJ Roman. Look for him in the indies and maybe the major wrestling circuits in years to come. Got that Ninja Warrior pedigree. So thanks for joining us for this episode. We'll see you back here next time.
This has been Going Ringside with The Local Station, brought to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast player, on News 4 Jax Plus, as well as the News 4 Jax YouTube channel.